Are you ready? It is tree time. So we are going to do the trees in the back. I know you're already worried and you're saying, I can't paint trees. Remember, we are just practicing here. We are just playing with some things and we're going to just do the best. This is our very first painting. We're going to try some other things as we go on. So if we look at them, they are just triangles with fuzzy edges, okay? So you want to make sure our paper is completely dry. We want to do a wet on dry technique, or almost a dry on dry. We want this watercolor to be pretty strong so things don't move on us, okay? So you can pick trees wherever you want. I'm just going to pick some trees right in here. I'm going to start in the middle and kind of work my way out. So I'm taking just the tip of my brush and I'm thinking triangle and I'm just zigzagging. Boom, little tree. Totally great. All right, now I'm gonna let that little guy dry just a little bit and I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna do some other ones. Just triangle. And I might try a different technique on one of these. I'm gonna skip some space and be like, what if I do little dots instead? Oh, I like that one. I'm just dabbing a little bit back and forth and getting some trees. Now I'm not putting them right next to each other because I want them to be able to dry a little bit. So I'm gonna do some short ones. And you can see as I'm doing this, my watercolor is a little bit thicker when I do the dabbing technique, and that's okay. And you can count exactly how many trees you have if that's how you like to work and you want it to be perfectly exact. If you don't care, then I say go for it. All right, we're going to layer some darker trees on top of this, and we're going to change our color as we go on. So just take a minute, and I want you just to figure out what works for you. Remember, these trees are far in the background. So these are just going to be little suggestions of trees, little designs, okay? We don't need to make these too detailed. It doesn't really matter. They're going to be hidden by a bunch of other trees. So if you decide, oh, I want to make a nice big tree, and I'm just kind of doing a shaky hand technique here. I'm going to overlap these. I'm going to see what happens if I get them too close to each other. Not so bad because my paint is not really runny, and I'm using just the very, very tip of my brush. Again, if you have a smaller brush and you want to switch to that, feel free to do so. If you got your one brush, hey, me too. Let's just work with that. So I'm dabbing another tree. Now these guys have dried just a little bit. So if my watercolor is not really wet, I don't have a problem putting trees next to each other because they're not going to run into each other very much. It's not like a wash where everything just gets runny. You can see I'm just using the tip of my brush. I'm just going to wiping it off on some of these edges just so I don't have a lot of extra water that I'm not anticipating. And if you can tell, I am not counting trees. I am just going in and saying, hey, there's a tall tree in here. I'm going to put a tall tree in there. And if you didn't like some of your lifting techniques and you want to hide some of that with a tree, go ahead. If you just want to add in extra trees just to make sure you fill the gaps because you're concerned about it later on, that's okay too. So dab in a couple trees, see what you got there. I know I'm going to do some bigger trees here, so I might do a little tall tree, skinny guy back here. There we go. All right. Okay, we're going to give this just a second to dry because we want to do a darker color on top. And again, we want to do a wet on wet or a dry on, or I'm sorry, we want to do a wet on dry or a dry on dry, depending on how rich your color is over here, okay? So we need to make sure everything underneath is completely dry. Now, if you are like me and you are trying to move along quicker, we have our handy dandy blow dryer. Now, if you want to just wait and you like this little bit of break to go do something else, or you only have a couple minutes to work anyway, then just let it sit and come on back, okay? See you in a minute.